Have you ever wondered what would happen if you could follow a compass that didn't point north, but instead guided you to the choices that would shape your entire life? Imagine holding in your hands a magical device that leads you through paths filled with challenges, self doubt, and hidden desires. Today's tale, join Finn, a young adventurer, as he follows the mysterious compass into a world where every direction holds a decision that could change his future forever. Will he discover the true meaning of purpose, or will his fears and dreams lead him astray? Continue watching to find out in the Compass of Choices. Welcome back, everybody. This is Tales of the Beard, and we're going to dive right into this tale. Hopefully you like it. Once upon a time, in a quiet village, nestled between ancient mountains, there lived a young adventurer named Finn. He was a curious soul, always yearning for something more than simple life that he had been given. He dreamt of distant lands, hidden treasures, and legendary creatures, but most of all, he sought the one thing that he didn't have: purpose. One crisp autumn morning, as the golden leaves danced in the wind, Finn ventured into the heart of the forest. The villagers warned him not to go too deep into the woods, for it was said to be enchanted, filled with spirits and ancient magic. But Finn's heart was determined, and so he pressed on. Hours passed, and just as the sun began to dip beneath the trees, Finn stumbled upon a clearing unlike any he had seen before. In the center of the glade lay a stone pedestal, ancient and worn by time. Upon it rested a small gleaming compass, its needle spinning erratically as if searching for something. Finn, ever the curious one, reached out and picks it up. As his fingers touched the compass, the world seemed to shift. The forest around him grew silent, the air thick with anticipation. The needle of the compass stopped spinning and pointed to the west, an unseen force urging Finn to follow its guidance. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, Finn decided to trust the compass and begin walking in the direction it pointed. The deeper he went into the woods, the more the landscape seemed to change. The trees, they grew taller and darker, their branches twisting into eerie shapes. He soon came upon a fork in the path. The compass's needle jerked and pointed sharply to the left. Finn hesitated for a moment, but his curiosity got the better of him. As he stepped onto the left path, the world around him shifted once again. Suddenly, he was no longer in the forest. He stood at the edge of the vast chasm, its depths filled with swirling mist. On the other side of the chasm stood a massive fortress, its black stone walls jagged and menacing. Finn could sense that this was the place he was meant to be. But a voice deep echoed from the mist.
"You have come to face your greatest fear,"
the voice boomed.
"The chasm is your own self-doubt, and crossing it requires you to confront the darkness within."
Finn's heart is now racing. He had always feared failure, the idea that his dreams would never come true to fruition, that his journey would end in vain. He had always wondered if he was truly meant to be more than the quiet villager he had always been. Now, standing before the chasm, he felt the weight of his uncertainty like never before. The compass in his hand seemed to now pulse with energy, urging him forward. Finn took a deep breath and, with a surge of courage, stepped toward the chasm's edge. But just before he leaped, a figure appeared from the mist. It was an older man, his face lined with age and wisdom. He wore a robe of deep blue and held a lantern that cast a warm, inviting glow. "Do not fear," the man said gently. "The chasm is not a barrier. It's a reflection of your inner struggle. To cross, you must believe in yourself." With the man's words echoing in his heart, Finn stepped forward. The ground beneath him held firm, and the mist parted, revealing a narrow bridge stretching across the chasm. As he crossed, Finn felt his self-doubt just crumble away, and the fortress ahead seemed much less intimidating. When he reached the other side, the fortress's massive gates creaked open, revealing a dark hall filled with shadows. At the end of the hall stood a throne, upon which sat a figure cloaked in shadow. "You have proven your courage," the figure said, its voice a low whisper. "Now you must face desires, the very thing that drives you. Will you sacrifice your deepest longing for the sake of your future?" Finn stepped forward, feeling an intense pull toward the throne. As he approached, the shadows around him began to shift, and suddenly the room was filled with images, visions of what his life could be if he chose the path of wealth, fame, and power. He saw himself sitting atop a mountain of gold, surrounded by adoring crowds. He saw himself becoming a legend, his name known across the lands. But as the visions played before him, Finn felt a strange emptiness. The fame, the wealth, the power, they were all pretty alluring, but they didn't feel like his true path. The compass in his hand pointed toward the doorway behind the throne leading back into the world outside. With a deep sigh, Finn turned away from the throne. I want more than just fame, he whispered. I want to live with purpose. I want to make a difference. The figure in the shadows nodded, its voice softening. You have chosen wisely. The true treasure lies not in what you possess, but in the choices that you make. So with that, Finn left the throne room, the compass glowing brighter in his hand. And as he exited the fortress, the world around him had changed once again. The path, it was clear, and the compass pointed not to a specific destination, but it actually pointed to his own heart. Finn walked for what felt like days, passing through strange lands and encountering strange creatures. At one point, the compass led him to a deep, murky swamp where the air was thick with a sense of dread. The compass's needle pointed down, and Finn found himself staring at the dark waters below. He had a choice: step into the swamp and face whatever fears lurked within, or simply just turn back. So you know what Finn does? He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath. He could feel the weight of his past decisions pressing on him. The path had chosen, it wasn't easy, but it was his. Finn stepped into the swamp. As he waded through, the thick mud creatures whispered from the shadows. But this time, instead of fear, Finn felt a strange sense of calmness. He realized that the swamp wasn't about overcoming physical challenges. It was about learning to trust his decisions, to stop second-guessing himself. And as the thick mist parted, he emerged into the bright sunlight once more. And the compass? It's glowing in his hand, and the needle? It's still pointing ahead. Finn finally returned to the village. He was no longer the young adventurer seeking something to define him. He had found his purpose through every choice that he made, each step leading him to the realization that the true magic lay not in the compass, but in the decisions that it inspired. And so Finn became known as the one who forged his own destiny, not through fortune, not through fame, but through the courage that made the choices that were true to who he was. The compass, now resting on his mantle, no longer pointed to the unknown. Instead, it pointed to the heart of every decision he made from then on. As Finn looked at the compass one last time, he smiled, knowing that no matter where that needle pointed, he would always follow the path that felt true to him. Years passed, and the tale of Finn, the young adventurer who became the compass of choices, became a legend in the village. The compass, now displayed in a glass case at the village's humble museum, no longer glowed with the same mystical light, but it still held a quiet little power. Those who dared to touch it could feel the weight of decisions, the same way that Finn had all those years ago. Finn, who was now older and wiser, became a mentor to many who sought his guidance. Young adventurers would come from near and far, asking him how they could find their own paths. With a smile, he would hand them the compass and tell them the same thing. The compass may guide you, but it is your heart that must lead. Though Finn never sought fame or fortune, he became quite the cornerstone of his village, living a life filled with purpose and connection. And as for the compass, it remained a reminder that the greatest treasures aren't always what you find, but the choices that you make along the way. One evening, as Finn was sitting on his porch at his cottage, just gazing at the setting sun, he reflected on his journey. He had never turned back the paths that he had chosen, for each one had brought him exactly where he needed to be. The compass, though no longer needed to point the way, it was always by his side. It wasn't magic that guided him. It was the wisdom to trust in his own heart. And so Finn's story continued to inspire generations, a testament to the fact that no matter where life's compass leads, The true adventure lies in the courage to choose and the strength to follow. The end. Hopefully you enjoyed another Tales of the Beard. We can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your busy day, week, month, year to listen to this. Have a great rest of your day. Follow your heart. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.